Live, this is News Channel 8 at 7 on your side.
Recovery officially underway after Hurricane Idalia barreled through parts of Florida. Very powerful video of the eye wall slamming through Perry in the Big Bend area. Good evening, I'm Jennifer Lee. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Floodwaters have receded a bit in Crystal River, but there is still a lot more work to be done in the aftermath of Idalia. The Sheriff's Office has conducted water rescues most of the day. Jack Royer joins us there now with a closer look at what the storm left behind. Jack.
Jen, I come to you tonight with good news, and that is that multiple cars are able to pass through these floodwaters that have now receded a bit. Let me step out of the way and show you. This has been a major albatross around the neck of this city all day today and through the night. Now cars are starting to come through. The floodwaters are receding a bit. That is good news for a community rocked by Idalia. In Crystal River, it wasn't just the rain. It was the storm surge that left much of the city underwater. Idalia came and went, leaving people to survey what the storm had left behind.
Yeah, my house is flooded. We can't go back home, so I'm staying with a friend right now. Got my car out, my dog out, so.
You seem to be in pretty good spirits.
Well, what can you do? We're alive. That's the biggest thing.
Most people evacuated, some didn't. That's kept sheriff's deputies busy rescuing people who stayed in evacuation zones, using airboats to bring people to safety. The sheriff wishes more people had heeded the warnings to leave. From above, sharing videos taken from a helicopter of some of the hardest hit areas.
So it's enormously frustrating because there's not enough of us to go around and do everything. And when we have to divert assets away to do waterborne rescues from people who could have listened to that, and we could have been out on the highway protecting our citizens, blocking off roads.
But most here are optimistic, especially the ones who chose to stay in evacuation zones and now accept the consequences.
I'm pretty relaxed. I live on the water. This is what you're going to expect when you live this close to it. So if you're worried about flooding, then you shouldn't live close to the water.
As if the hard part was not already over, the sheriff says his deputies, and hopefully with the help of FEMA, they will now have to go through evacuation zone A and knock on doors and check every property to make sure no one was left behind and, God forbid, no one killed by this storm. But needless to say, there is still much more work to do. In Crystal River, Jack Royer, 8 on your side.
Thank you so much for your hard work, Jack. Hurricane Idalia also caused major destruction just north of where Jack is. This video is from Perry, Florida. Just incredible. Winds over 100 miles an hour ripped the roof off a gas station, toppled the awning. Trees and other debris flew across roadways, making driving very hazardous there. Of course, another hard-hit area was Cedar Key. You can see the massive storm surge. That's a stop sign there, the water cresting over that. It devastated so many areas, that water did. 8 on your side's Jeff Patterson has been there in Cedar Key since before the storm, and he has the latest on those devastating impacts.
Here in Cedar Key, things are developing rapidly. Behind me was a huge pile of debris as tall as I am. And about an hour ago, they moved in with 3 small Bobcats, some heavy equipment, and moved that pile of debris out of the way of the road, clearing access for cars to come in and out of here. But we were here last night throughout the height of the storm, and I just want to show you on the side of this building where the storm surge got to. You can see the high water level mark here. Water was crashing out of these windows, and if you take a look over here, you can see why, because the doors were blown out by the storm surge, waves crashing into here. They had significant damage here, and so I just spoke to the owner a short time ago. They have a lot of cleanup left to do, but the owner told me this used to be their pavilion area, and she says this is what they were known for. People would sit out here, guests would sit out here on a swing set under the pavilion and enjoy the sunset, maybe have a cocktail or two, but that pavilion is completely gone. That pile of debris over there, that's part of the pavilion. That pile of debris over there is also part of Cottage 1. If you look at that pile of rubble over there, that was a full-on cottage. One of the owners just showed me pictures of it. It was beautiful. It was also their most popular cottage because it was the closest to the Gulf of Mexico. Cottage 2 looked very similar, and so the front wall of that is blown out. We actually watched as the roof from Cottage 1 floated over there, and we were at the top of the hill as the roof from Cottage 1 ended up on that street over there. We want to show you some video that we were able to record at the height of the storm last night. The biggest concern on Cedar Key, of course, was storm surge. It got up to above 10 feet, some of the waves cresting above 11 or 12 feet. Cedar Key Fire Rescue told me they were concerned that they thought the storm surge might get to 16 feet. Thankfully, it never got that high. People here on Cedar Key did lose homes. Obviously, businesses suffered major damage, especially the ones in the low-lying area. But the owner of the faraway inn here told me, come back in a year. We're going to rebuild. I want to come back in a year, and I want to see what they've done. In Cedar Key, Jeff Patterson, 8 on your side.
The governor says so far there are no reports of fatalities in the hardest hit area where Idalia's eye wall passed. He also says searches and rescues have been underway ever since that land strike, and first responders are making progress as night begins to fall.
And they've probably gone through about 70% of the areas that they need to be able to check for people that are in distress. And, so far, all signs have been positive.
Firefighters and deputies in Hernando County were also busy throughout the day rescuing those stranded by floodwaters. Tonight, some of those evacuated from their flooded neighborhoods returned to see the damage done. News Channel 8's Justin Shecker joins us now live from Hernando Beach. This is always the interesting part about a hurricane. You have some people who evacuate, others who choose to stay, but that return home for those evacuees is always a little bit of a nail biter as they wait to see what they're coming home to.
Jen, it'll actually be some good news for some of the folks who live here in Hernando Beach. In the last hour, we drove back into this neighborhood. Yes, there is some flooding. A couple inches went to garages or lower levels, but a short drive from here up in Weeki Wachee, some neighborhoods had a few feet of flooding.
I'm from Arkansas, so I've only been down here for 2 years, so I've never seen anything like this.
During Hurricane Idalia in the coastal area of Hernando County,
it didn't even feel like we had a storm until the water started coming in because we had power all night and everything was good.
The rising water from the Weeki Wachee River came awfully close to Morgan Matat's home.
Thank God so far we have about another foot and then the water would have came in.
But other homeowners who live off Shoreline Boulevard weren't as lucky. Across the street, the Weeki Wachee Marina was also underwater.
It's a disaster. A lot of people got a lot to work on now. They definitely need some help.
Thomas Cutshall drove in from Pasco County with his children to distribute water, food, and gas to families dealing with the immediate aftermath of the hurricane.
Teaching them how to give back.
By early afternoon, the water began to recede, but the flood damage had already been done inside Vicky Glazer's garage in Hernando Beach.
We didn't really think this was going to happen, but it happened, and it was not good. We just redid our entire base lower level, and my car was in the garage, and the car's gone.
And Hernando County firefighters tell us overnight a home here in Hernando Beach was destroyed. They couldn't get to that fire because of the storm surge, but fortunately, nobody was inside. And Jen, several longtime residents have been telling me all day long this has been the worst flooding in this area since that no-name storm back in 1993. Live in Hernando Beach, I'm Justin Shecker, 8 on your side.
Thank you so much, Justin. Power providers have made significant progress in the last 2 hours. Roughly half the outages we have been telling you about have since been restored. Duke says 15,000 customers still don't have power, though. That's from Citrus to Pinellas counties. TECO says about 600 are still without electricity, and according to FPL's outage tracker, 5,500 of those customers still do not have power. Citrus County School says Citrus County says school is canceled through tomorrow. That's at the very least. Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Hernando counties will start classes back tomorrow. Pasco and Manatee County, as well as Sarasota County, also reopening tomorrow. Polk County will resume classes on Friday. We're also keeping a close watch on the northern side of Pinellas County. Residents are drying out after dealing with floodwaters overnight and into the morning. News Channel 8's Lenny Supal joins us now from Indian Rocks Beach with more.
Well, what a difference 24 hours makes. It's quite beautiful out here. The sun is shining and we're seeing so many residents return to Indian Rocks Beach, but there is one lingering concern so many people have. It's the erosion on the sensitive shoreline. Vicki Goonan going for her daily walk along Indian Rocks Beach. Though most of the island was spared by the storm's wrath, there's another pressing issue that's catching her attention.
We've got a lot of beach we've lost here. The waves are really high. It looks like probably about, 3 feet maybe? it looks like we've got an erosion going on. So, you know, hopefully the water will go back out and we'll get some more beach back.
Her worry wrapped around the eroding shoreline along the coast.
It hurts to see it, but we know it's going to come back. It does every storm. We get this and then it comes back. This is a little deeper, though.
Meanwhile, earlier in the day, Indian Rocks Beach saturated with floodwater, but quickly receding as the day progressed. It's clear why many residents decided to evacuate. Those who decided to stay know their decision came with a high level of risk.
There was a lot of water. There was some wind. It wasn't a direct hit. You know, like again, you know, seeing the aftermath of Ian. If it was a direct hit, there's no way I would be on this island.
So as I mentioned, more and more people making their way out onto the beach. That's because the bridges are back open, and also a welcome news for families. Schools will also reopen tomorrow. Reporting from Indian Rocks Beach, Lenny Sue Paul, 8 on your side.
Thank you, Lenny. Let's get a check on your Max Defender 8 forecast with meteorologist Rebecca Berry, who now lives here at the News Center. So thank you for bringing us into your home, Rebecca.
Welcome, welcome. I don't have any snacks. I'm sorry.
So that's okay. You've been busy.
Well, we're bidding adieu to Idalia, and so it's continuing to move up the coast. Even though it's going to be a rainmaker for the Carolinas, and tropical rainfall in the Carolinas is particularly problematic for flooding, especially the inland Carolinas, this system's moving so fast, we're not really that worried about it. It's booking it, moving to the northeast at 21 miles per hour. Still a tropical storm crossing the South Carolina line there. Maybe it'll stop it south of the border. Headed through Charleston and Wilmington, expected to make it back out into the Atlantic. And this is the part that's worrying a lot of people when it just kind of starts to sit and wobble around. All the forecast models do show the stall, but we're not really expecting it to loop back towards us. That would be really, really a small infinitesimal chance for that to happen. It's more likely to get caught up in the mid-level weather systems and drug out further into the Atlantic. As far as what you can expect, with the rest of the tropics, it's crowded. We've got a lot to track with nothing headed our way, which is the good news. We'll take a look at some gusty showers that are headed our way coming up next.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Before we go to break, we want to take a look at the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. It's back open after high winds caused officials to close the bridge for several hours, in fact. But as you can see right now, it really looks pretty pleasant. A nice drive, too. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The barrier islands in Pinellas County are back open tonight. It had been restricted earlier today because of flooding caused by a combination of storm surge and high tides. News Channel 8's Brittany Muller is in Treasure Island, where cleanup is underway right now.
We're here on Sunset Beach on Treasure Island, right near Caddy's Restaurant. It's pretty gusty out here, so much so the winds uprooted this tree, and now city leaders are worried about beach erosion out here. While gusty winds can still be felt, the concern all day, flooding. And South Pinellas County saw just that.
My house is basically in the water. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 feet under the water. So it's come in the house, come in the garage, come in, you know, everywhere it could come into.
So now all that's left of Hurricane Idalia is cleanup, including branches and other debris from this water line. The mayor of Treasure Island says crews right now are doing damage assessments and making sure the roadways are passable for residents. Reporting tonight from Treasure Island, Brittany Muller, 8 on your side.
Hurricane Idalia is still moving across southern parts of the U.S. We want to show you a live look at Kiowa Island just south of Charleston, South Carolina. Wow, choppy there. This Earth Cam is showing rough surf as Idalia heads out into the Atlantic. Property owners along the Alafia River in Gibsonton spent the day dealing with flooding there, like so many folks around the Bay Area. At Jerry's Dockside Bar and Grill, water breached the deck and covered benches where customers would normally be sitting any other day. The owner spent the day watching the water, hoping it didn't get inside his restaurant. Around the corner, Eric Leach showed our Shannon Bankin water inside his home. You hate to see that. He says he and his wife bought the house in May and were nearly finished renovating. And now he says they'll have to start all over.
I slowly watched the water get closer and closer. By about 4, water was starting to come in the house. And about 4:30, about 75% of the house was covered. And that's when I moved down the street to one of my neighbors.
Oh, I hate to hear that. Both property owners tell Shannon they have property insurance, but both say flood insurance was not available to them because of the location of their properties.
Max Defender 8, the most advanced weather radar in Florida.
That's one of the things that I think a lot of us will be holding our breath, even if you weren't impacted directly by the storm, is what's going to happen to the insurance industry in Florida that's already just taxed to the limit now from this storm, because you've got these properties in the Big Bend that are just going to be devastated.
Yes, not a lot of them in some of the hardest hit areas were already built on stilts, and other coastal communities have gone through that transition where a hurricane hits, does so much devastation, and the new building codes require that elevation.
Yeah.
So that will help right size that when they do rebuild. Unfortunately, they have to rebuild a little bit higher.
Yeah, you still hate to see the kind of things that people are dealing with. However, here in the Bay Area, I feel pretty lucky. I mean, this is another example of it stayed offshore and it could have been so much worse for us.
Exactly, and I think that's what we've been emphasizing is look how much storm surge we saw, and it was 125 miles away from us. And so when we're asking you to evacuate when a storm is headed our way, that's why, because it would be 10 times worse if it were actually affecting our area directly like it is in the Big Bend. We've got cloudy skies in Lakewood Ranch. They got just over 2 inches of beneficial rain there, and the clouds held us in the 80s for most of the day. Taking a look at Max Defender 8, we're going to see gusty on again, off again showers throughout the evening hours, even overnight and into tomorrow. This is that trail of tropical moisture that the system's dragging across the state, and that pattern's going to continue for another couple of days. The heaviest of the rain, it was along our coastline and also in Hardy, DeSoto, and parts of Polk County. We got radar estimated rainfall totals around 6 inches, but all of the rain was moving so fast and will continue to do so over the next couple of days. We didn't see any heavy flooding rain. So this is what we expect. More showers pushing on shore. This is what you're waking up to. A smattering of showers out there. Not too bad. They're on the move. We still need the rain, so you can't really complain about the widespread chances for showers. They are going to be over the next 48 hours, though. So on again, off again rain Thursday and again on Friday. It's not going to be a washout. You'll get big breaks in the rain to get your yard cleaned up and get everything back where it's supposed to be. This is what you're waking up to on Friday. Now, Friday's afternoon rain is a little more consistent and persistent over our inland areas, but coastal areas should be fine. There's a big change on Saturday. We start with showers offshore, but we've got drier air. See, the low pressure system's moving away, and it's going to drag this drier air over our area starting on Saturday. That lowers our humidity and our chances for rain over the weekend. So big rain days on again, off again tomorrow and Friday, but then drier as we head into the weekend and lower humidity. You're going to feel it most in the mornings when we wake up in the mid 70s because it's beautiful next week. We're waking up in the mid 70s, mostly sunny skies, and warming only into the low 90s with 20% chances for rain. So the Labor Day holiday looks absolutely beautiful. We're going to take a break. See you after the commercial.
We leave you tonight with another look at how brave first responders across the Tampa Bay area used everything at their disposal to rescue those trapped in floodwaters from Hurricane Idalia. Deputies in Hernando County used an airboat to reach a mother and son who found themselves stranded on the bridge to Pine Island. The two had been stuck there for hours. You can see them back on dry land. Thankfully, they were not hurt. This is video showing them the moment they were brought back in Spring Hill. That's the moment, too, where you're like, ooh, and now there's a camera here waiting for me to see me making it back.
Part of the deal with the rescues on the worst day of your life.
Yeah, exactly. But we're happy to see them safe.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you back here tonight at 11. This one's going to actually go to her real home soon. Have a great night. I think you should. Why?